Nazarbayev Intellectual School of Astana is glad to present you another online lesson of the English language, naming creative writing. So lots of works, and each unit actually possess some writing practice, and teachers are trying to practice some not like a very basic things like writing an essay, just opinion essay, but also there's lots of attention is paid for creative writing, when students can actually present their ideas, their personal view, and their way of their skills of playing with words and presenting their language knowledge. And what types of creative writing we have, and we can take like myths, legends, personal narrative, fables, mystery stories, and persuasive writing. So there are lots of other types of writing, but for example, if we take myths, so when you regard the literature, like when your students read, for example, some authentic epic about epic heroes, and then the product of this unit can be presenting a myth, when students create their own myths and legends, for example. And personal narrative, it can be like a short story, and here like the student can play a role of the author and a narrator who actually tells the story, some adventure story or a little like a play. And fables are also just very important, for example, for the younger generation, for 7th and 8th grade, where they can somehow present their ideas and connect them or compare them with other fables from different cultures and languages. For example, we did it with the students when they actually regarded some fables in the Russian language, and they can easily, then we read some English versions, and they can easily compare them and create their own fable based on the knowledge that they got. Mystery stories also just, it's up to the, for example, for teenagers, for 12th and 13th year students, because they actually like to add some mystery there, and they like to watch fantastic videos and movies, and they'd like to add some superficial features to their characters. And persuasive writing, so it's mostly for elder students, when the teacher wants to make the students be ready for example, for persuasive speech, and when they are prepared for debates, or given the speech presentation, presenting their ideas, trying to persuade the audience, to prove their point of view, find some evidence, just showing their analytical skills and critical thinking skills. So you see, all the different type is up to the different ages, so that's why it's very important to choose the appropriate level, and of course it should be based on the literature and types of works that you are doing in the class. The main idea, just the whole, the general structure that all these creative writing works have, it is a plot. So it can be like a paragraph writing, so paragraph goes after paragraph, and there will be an ending. So there should be a good title for this, a title that can attract the reader's attention, and the audience should be very interested in, and the choice of title is very good, and it's very hard for children to find a proper title. Character creating, sometimes students like to use themselves, like to base the character description based on their description, their personal features, but sometimes they create, for example, for mystery stories, they create the character, and or sometimes they just take copying them from some movies. So it's very important to have emotions, so through dialogues, through some stylistic devices, some descriptions, it's very important to add this and to make your audience feel these emotions that you have while you're writing, creating this part of writing. And the theme, so it's better when the student starts to create his product based on the theme. So firstly, he needs to underline his theme, what topic he would like to come, or for example, coming of age, or the cost of wars, something that the topic that is he thinks that will be interesting for some definite audience, and he develops the characters according to this theme and the emotions that are appropriate for the theme, and the whole plot is surrounds around this theme. And of course, it's very important to have a point of view when actually the reader can easily find and follow maybe sometimes the writer's point of view, or create his own point of view. That's why, but for children it's very hard to make sometimes the readers think and to get another point of view, but it's very important to make your, or the audience find your point of view and agree or disagree with it. So there are some general ideas about writing, creating the products of creative writing. So lots of good stories, they were based on the writer's experience, and students actually take it for granted and they can use it also, just take some stories that happened with them in their real life. So the opening paragraph, this is the main fact, and it is the main idea that the introduction, the first paragraph, it should be very evocative. It should produce the main idea of the whole plot, and it should include some tricky and some hints that then can attract the reader and keep him reading the story till the end. So, and here is another point, like first paragraph should intrigue the reader. So it's better not to tell the whole, just what will happen and some predictable ending, but there should be some intrigue, some hints. The closing paragraph should satisfy the reader, but it doesn't have to be a happy ending. So sometimes, while the reader is reading, they try to predict the ending and to find the solution to some problem, and the writer can actually step by step draw them to this ending. But not the happy ending is a good ending for each story, and sometimes not so happy ending is a very good solution for some of them. That's why it's up to the writer to decide the type of closing paragraph. And stylistic devices. So previously on one of our online lessons we have discussed stylistic devices, that there are lots of types of stylistic devices that are appropriate for some types of writing, for some specific spheres, and to create some atmosphere, some irony. And it's very important to use them because they can actually create and add some colors to the writing, add some emotions. And sometimes, in order to make your just dialogues or the story vivid, it's better to have some conflict between the characters, some inner conflict of the character, or some external focus on the character. So these conflicts, they help the reader to follow, and in order to produce it, some writers create some situations and which obstacles that the character have to overcome. And if we take like the first, if we regard the types of all the types of creative writing, and we mentioned myth. So myth is just choice of cultures of the world and refresh some background knowledge. So all the stories and myth stories, they are based on some description, and it was the culture of communication when people just retold the stories. And the novel should include mythical some details and appropriate for modern readers. So most characters, they are creative characters, and some of them really were not existed. And another thing that you need to think about setting. So the setting should be appropriate for the myth. So if it is I don't know, ancient Greece, so then the setting, so the place, the time should be appropriate. Example, it's the same like a vehicle or just type of the dress, what they wear. So everything, the weapons, everything should be appropriate to this time which you choose and the place which you mentioned. And there is also some conflicts and problems, and it's better to have some solutions when you provide the reader with some of them and present some myth about some heroic features of some character. Personal narrative. When you base your narration on some story or taken from your life, so choose the event. So it's better to describe the place, some people who were around, some details are very important, and emotions, of course. It's better to use a first-person point of view. So you'll start your writing like I, when I was, etc. And it's better to use chronological organization. So there should be a clean chronological view, so the reader can easily follow your ideas. Then share the significance of events. So try to avoid mentioning some not important events, but give a detailed description of the most important one. Share thoughts and feelings. So through using first-person point of view, you can easily share your emotions, like I felt, I knew, I believed. And don't forget to describe the settings and the people that are involved in the story, that like additional characters that actually help to develop the plot of the story. If we see, for example, if you'd like to create a fable, firstly, the main idea is like what moral would you like to teach? So you know that lots of fables, they are around some morality, some ideas that you then can create it through adding some characters. So what will the characters be? How can you show the morality in the story? Then there will be like problems that characters need to solve, and don't forget about the ending of the fable. So you know, fables, it's when the writer choose some animals and he make them speak and they think and they do. So he takes their personal human features, thinking features, and add them to animal. And then through animal we can recognize some human characteristics. So it's very skillful thing, and not all the writers can really manage this, but the main idea is just a morality that we take from fables, like a story of animals, but still we can interpret it and base it on some description of people. Mystery stories. So it's better to start with the main character. So place your character in some interesting setting, descriptive, and don't forget to mention the whole details of this place. Then you need to create an intrigue story. So you need not to tell it should be not so easy to predict what will happen, but you need to intrigue your auditory and with a specific puzzle to solve, for example. Then build up a tension to keep the story exciting and suspenseful. So some tension help really to keep on reading the story. Then it's better to include some exciting cliff changes to keep the story thrilling, and to add some additional things and details that can help to develop your story. And then in conclusion, it's better to solve this mystery and to add some characteristic to your main hero, and in this way just to end this story, mystery story. And actually, from just my experience, I can tell you that mystery stories is very good when you actually base it on some maybe a real life situation, but you create the setting around it, and some unpredictable ending is very good for mystery stories. Legend writing. It's another type of writing, creative writing, when the legends have fantastic fantasy elements, but they are based on some historical events and times. So they took place some centuries maybe ago, and they sometimes have humans as the main character, and often humans to whom they exist in recorded history. So you can take like historical character and create a legend around him, like describing his features, some of his personal characteristics that really help to develop your plot. And legends, almost they have like the main idea or symbol of heroism or some patriotical feelings to the land, and lots of you can find lots of examples from the history of the world. And the last type of writing is persuasive writing. So there are many elements which can be included in persuasive writing, and it is very important sometimes to practice persuasive writing before you actually do, for example, persuasive speech. The main idea is just starting opinion, so using some supporting elements, some evidences, connecting ideas with logical and reasoning, and appealing to a target of audience. So firstly, you should know for sure which audience you are going to present this writing. So if they are your teens and peers, so it means that you need to find some appropriate facts and evidences that can really prove and persuade this, for example, your peers, your classmates. Or if you are just presenting the speech to teachers, it means that you should choose the appropriate vocabulary, the style, and maybe some elements like some reasons, some evidence. They should be much more stronger, because it's very sometimes hard to persuade the real grown-ups. And don't forget that your writing should be very logically constructed. That's why at the very beginning it's better to have a plan, a clear plan of what you're going to present and of what you're going to write. So your point of view should be very clearly stated in the very first paragraph. It will be like a statement, a thesis, which shows your point of view clearly and openly. And then you just, from each paragraph, you just open it and describe it very detailedly. And each paragraph, together with your point of view, with your analysis, should have some evidences, some justification of your ideas. So it can be like taking some resources, maybe taking some numbers, data from statistics, or it can be an interview, or maybe you have seen some show, or it can be based on TED Talks, and you can present your persuasive speech, persuasive writing. And it's much easier after the persuasive writing to create a persuasive speech, because you know in what direction you should develop your speech. And it's better to have the most strongest ideas, facts in the very beginning, so that you can draw your reader's attention and keep it till the end, and keep a little weak evidences at the end of your writing, so that the reader will keep reading and he will agree slightly with you. If you mention not so strong evidences at the very beginning, you can't actually reach the point of persuading someone, and he will leave your writing at the very first paragraph. That's why it's better to focus on the first two paragraphs, when you introduce your topic, and the very first evidence that really will focus on your topic, on your point of view, and the reader will really be interested in reading your writing till the end. There is lots of other ideas, but the main ideas which you choose, and it can be, again, I can repeat it to you, that it can be based on your experience, and really enjoy writing, and thank you for your attention.